Neve was merely 6 when her father Aaron had died. No one knew for a fact how it had occurred or who was to blame. Her mother never talked about it. Neve suspected she did not know either. And Llewellyn, the closest thing Neve ever had to an uncle, who always appeared to know everything, was no help. She could guess, though. It was always the same ones behind the disappearances, never mind that no one discussed them. To do so would be to invite your own death. Neve did not remember her father. She had wiped his presence from her mind and did not desire to recall. However, she believed she knew who had stolen him. Neve saw them every day. The soldiers, marching up and down the streets, searching for those disobeying the government rules. The streets cleared when they appeared. Most Gwakas in Neve's city, named Thammasvale, were helpless, wretched figures who could not imagine another life. The Gwaka government used this frailty in its citizens to keep the powerful position they held. Neve was one of the few whose ancestors had not travelled quite so far down the road to animalism. Her mother Mirren had formed the Scholars, a group of men and women led by Mirren who knew the truth about the government. It was power-hungry and merciless. How else could the government have disposed of her father and all the other Gwakas who had fallen into the mass graves outside the city? Neve could never forgive them for what they had taken from her, for what she could have had and what her life could have been. How did they have the right to determine her destiny in that way? Mirren had formed the Scholars in order to fight back. Her rebel group had grown to 50 members since the fateful day she had descended to Minethrasin Valley in defiance of the government. It was not easy being a rebel. They were continuously in hiding, and new recruits were rare because of the difficulty in finding those willing to fight for the Scholars' cause. It was almost impossible to communicate. Group gatherings of 4 or more people were banned, and curfews made night meetings very dangerous. Government soldiers patrolled the streets around the clock, and if you were discovered breaching any rules, the gallows were ready and waiting for you. Neve had never consorted with anyone outside the Scholars' organisation, let alone other children. Babies were scarce among the Gwaka community. No one wanted children. They ate all the food and made life more burdensome than it already was. The few that were born were not treated well. No love was put into raising them, and their gaunt, beaten figures and haunted expressions confirmed insufficient sustenance and regular punishments. Children born were only there to ensure the population did not grow too small and fade out of existence. Neve was an exception to the rule. She had never been beaten in her life, and her gauntness was normal for all Gwakas. No one ever had enough food. Even the government officials were scrawny creatures with no mind for anything but eating, sleeping, and obeying orders. The Scholars were different to the majority of Gwakas, though, for they knew what they had lost, what they could have had. Most Gwakas did not know their origin, and the emotions and culture of their previous lives were forgotten. Some did not even have names anymore. They were lost souls, existing solely to do what others said. Some richer Gwakas had shops where they sold produce to the wealthy who could afford such luxuries. They had slightly more freedom. The poorest had no choice. For them, it was either die of hunger or exist from the scraps they received through their labour. They laboured every day, all day. Neve would see them sometimes at dawn, chained together by their ankles, toiling in the fields or cleaning the ever-polluted city.